All right, so boom. Last night at Backlash France 2024, we might have seen the greatest wrestling crowd of all time. Like, I know there's recency bias that ends up happening whenever we talk about these particular kind of subjects, especially since everything is subjective. But I think we can all agree that was truly not only top 10, arguably top 5 greatest crowds of all time. Because you think about the best rabid wrestling crowds we've ever seen, whether it was last year, Backlash 2023 in Puerto Rico, night after WrestleMania 2013 when Dolph cashed in, WrestleMania 20 when the crowd in MSG was going crazy between Brock and Goldberg, Clash at the Castle, I believe that was 2 years ago, Drew versus Roman Reigns for the title, crowd going crazy. Unforgiven 2006, Edge versus John Cena. Countless amount of crowds where the people go crazy, but I don't think we have had a crowd from start to finish that was as loud as France yesterday at Backlash 2024. Hell, even Backlash, what was it, 2000 when Stone Cold came back, helped The Rock go and win the championship? One of the loudest pops ever. When Mankind won the championship, I believe on, what was it, January 4th, 99 on Raw? Fam, one way or another, that's the kind of wrestling crowd that you want to not only be in, but for the wrestlers want to perform for. Because that is truly why you lace up them boots, why you run the ropes, why you dream of being able to be a WWE wrestler, let alone a wrestler in any particular kind of promotion, because that made the show. Think about The Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18. If you watch that match on mute, it's one of the most average matches you probably will have ever seen. Slightly above average once they started to introduce, you know, the weapons and hitting people with the belt and things of that nature. But one way or another, you turn the volume up, man, it's top 15 match all time, just from an entertainment perspective, simply because the crowd made it like that. But for the entire show to have the crowd on tilt the whole time, fam, truly one of them situations where you could mess around, turn into The Rock, activate the goosebump, start slapping your goddamn forearms. I had never seen anything like it. And truly, in my opinion, I think WWE has got to truly consider possibly taking those premium live events that aren't a part of the big four, which is Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, and consider bringing those maybe exclusively overseas or out of the country. Hell, even Montreal, the Raw 2005 when Shawn Michaels was doing the whole thing, even that crowd was crazy. So one way or another, I think Triple H and Nick Khan and all of the WWE executives should really consider bringing them shows overseas. AEW, when they had their pay-per-view last year, I think it's when freaking CM Punk's last match with Samoa Joe, wasn't that overseas as well? Crowd going crazy. But one way or another, you don't see crowds like that in the States anymore because, for all intents and purposes, wrestling has since become relatively oversaturated. I think because you don't see it as often overseas, they have much more passion for the product. Because everybody, Twitter, IG, comment sections across the damn nation and YouTube, everybody's saying, fam, now these wrestlers got to come back to the States and wrestle in front of Americans. Man, it's not going to be as awesome as it appeared on television while I was watching it in France. Fam, we got to do better. I'm talking to my fellow Americans. We got to do better. I remember there was a time in which everybody went to the show and truly fully immersed themselves in the show and lost themselves in the product. Now, I've gone to countless WWE live events, pay-per-views, well, PLEs, Raws and SmackDown television, whatever the case just so happened to be. I can't tell you how many times I happen to be standing there in the stands watching the goddamn match, from whether I'm sitting on the floor seats, which I've never have, the first, you know, rising sections, or up there in the nosebleeds. I'm seeing motherfuckers like this. You pull up to the show and you so immersed in your phone, you're not even cheering, booing, anything of the nature, no giving, no reactions whatsoever. We got to do a better job of being fully immersed in what the hell's going on. Because them motherfuckers out there in France, those people who was out there in Scotland, those people who was out there in London, those people who was over there in Australia, they was in sync, tapped in the entire goddamn time. The fact that they had AJ Styles, there was some sort of French song that was a play on being phenomenal. So every time AJ did something, the whole crowd broke into it. You would have thought there was a rehearsal for how to cheer prior to the show. Every time somebody kicked out at 2, in unison, they was cheering afterwards. They knew every lyric of Cody Rhodes' theme song. This not even their first language. They was singing the hook of Randy Orton's theme song. They was 100% in tune. We already know in Europe, anytime that Bayley comes out, they're gonna sing that, I wanna know if you could be my girl. You know they're gonna do that. But truly, we've got to do better with the crowds that's out here, because there is almost no way you would be able to top what they did over there unless you bring that energy. I have said on the record, if you tune into my WWE streams, I have said the best crowd I have ever personally been inside of was NXT Brooklyn 2015. Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, ladder match, NXT Championship. Sasha Banks, Bayley for the Women's Championship in NXT. That crowd was magnificent. Start to finish, energy. If you go back on Peacock, or you happen to go look anywhere else and you look for NXT Brooklyn 2015, go back and watch the crowd. It was on fire. That was one of the best crowds I had a chance to be in. Night 2, WrestleMania 40 this past month. Or I should say last month in April. WrestleMania 35, Kofi Mania, we was going crazy, but nothing has topped my personal experience of being in the crowd for NXT Brooklyn 2015. That is miles below of what we saw yesterday at Backlash, let alone what we saw last year in Puerto Rico at Backlash. So I am pleading to the American audience, for those of you who will be attending Raws, SmackDowns, other PLEs, whatever the case just so happens to be, can we bring the energy? Because there is no reason why we should be outclassed like that by the French. These motherfuckers done made it seem as if every event needs to take place over there in France, bruh. If I'm a WWE wrestler, I might not want to consider coming back. I'm telling my family to grab their passports. We are eloping overseas to France. We need to be performing in front of this goddamn crowd every single goddamn time we happen to lace our boots up. Because that was incredible. To the France audience, thank you so much for making the pay-per-view so much better than as good as it already was. Because truly, think about it, with how good the crowd was, the 5 matches seemed like all-timers, bro. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton versus the Bloodline was start to finish chaos and magnificent. Then you have Tonga Loa show up over there, the Bloodline's expanding. After that, you happen to have Bayley, Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, crushed it. Crowd was on tilt from start to finish for that one too. Damian Priest, Jey Uso, the entrance for Jey Uso might be top 5 all time, bro. That shit was sensational. And again, I don't want to fall victim to the recency bias, but can you truly sit here and be on some immediately not consider it? Look how the crowd went crazy, bro. The roar through and through. Jey Uso's entrance was like fucking 5 minutes. This man, every single time doing this shit, they had the lights flashing and everything. That joint was crazy, bro. It looked like they had a rave out there. Then you move right into the Women's Tag Team Championship. Went on a little bit too long, don't get me wrong. I think they could have did what they wanted to do in about 7 to 8 minutes rather than what felt like 14 to 15. But one way or another, the match was still going well. I'm not too sure what was going on with the tag legal situation where Kyrie went for the pin, she wasn't legal, then went for the armbar, still wasn't legal, somehow tagged out of the match when you're the illegal woman, then tagged back in. Very confusing, but one way or another. Main event, Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, sensational fucking match, and the crowd was still on fire the entire time. So I say all that to say, I'll ask you guys in the comment section right now, leave your thoughts. Do you believe this was the greatest crowd ever in the history of WWE? And I haven't even mentioned some of the classic crowds back in the day. You talk about the Texas Stadium kind of crowds where you had the Von Erichs take on the Freebirds in the 80s. Whether it was the late 80s where you had Flair versus Steamboat and the crowds was going crazy. WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre the Giant. They was wilding out over there as well. One way or another, I need to know, do you guys believe This was the greatest crowd ever in the history of WWE. Y'all let me know in the comment section. And furthermore, do you think they should bring premium live events exclusively outside of the Big Four overseas? I'm curious what your thoughts are. Leave it in the comment section.
You mean to tell me you watched the entire video but you haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button and become a member on Patreon or on YouTube to get access to the Discord. We're waiting for you in the Shadow Realm.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Please! Please!
What are you waiting for, huh?
Oh my god.